I am Hermes, messenger of the gods, here to bring her message in my hermetic communication. Overthinking is what this video is about. Overthinking is something that you have done a lot of in this life. I have done a lot of. Most people around us are consistently enveloped in the shackles of overthinking. And what is overthinking? I mean, it seems so crazy when we try and define it. Overthinking is the act of creating problems that weren't there. It's essentially abusing our mental abilities in order to formulate what-if scenarios. When we are in the state of overthinking, we are not in the here and now, we are not in the now. And this is a problem because whenever we start to overthink, we forego our creative abilities. We essentially tell the universe that what's happening right in front of me is not enough. And so I shall be consumed with something that happened or will happen. I will either reside in the past, which can't actually happen, or in the future, which can't actually happen either. So where are you when you are overthinking? How come our minds end up going on these tangents where we worry about our future lives, we mull over the past, we get enveloped in the throes of despair and self-hatred and hatred for others? Why would we do that? Why would we do that? Well, because most of us put more emphasis on our minds than on our hearts. Yes, most people put too much emphasis on the thoughts which are spinning out of control, seemingly, out of our heads, than what we truly feel. And this is the result of a society that is based on analytical, fragmented thinking. One cornerstone of the energy extraction matrix is bureaucracy. And bureaucracy is a type of system which is completely free of any creative expression, of anything right-brained, of anything that has any feminine energy. It is based on fragmentation, on separation, on stamps, on processes which cannot be broken. And so a lot of us have internalized this bureaucracy. And therefore, when we get a thought, we recognize it as a complete part of ourselves. And we might flesh out that thought, but in fleshing out that thought and ignoring how we feel, truly, we are simply going on an external voyage into nothingness. Isn't that strange? It seems like when you're overthinking, you're inside of yourself, that these thoughts are within you. I'm not saying they're not your own. I'm saying that you go outside of yourself when you are focused on the future or the past. And this is why we say on this channel, focus on the here and now. Because when we're in the now, we won. And we are one because we recognize that we are in the now at all times. This is one of the tests for the living souls right now. Shall we be consumed with our thoughts? Shall we go on these long escapades where we end up just shooting ourselves in the foot, where we end up painting ourselves in such a complex light? In a bureaucratic system, everything moves forward in a linear fashion, in the exact way which the system has it set up. And this is why when you initiate any contract, when you initiate any sort of process within this system, it inevitably has to be fleshed out in the way that the process dictates. We can absolutely compare this to overthinking, because once a thought emerges in our head, we actually don't have to recognize that it's a part of ourselves, but in a bureaucratic system, we have confused it with that same bureaucracy. And so we get a thought, we recognize it completely, we flesh it out, and this results in overthinking ourselves to despair, distress, anxiety, fear. We can tell ourselves all day that the reason we have pain is because circumstances have led to inevitable conclusions, and that we are simply the result. We are the victim. We are the absorber of all of this pain. But you and I both know deep down that the reason we are always in pain, the reason we are suffering, is because we churn out all of these scenarios in our minds and we create a story. We overthink ourselves to death. Yes, just because you're living does not mean you are alive. Just because you aren't dead yet doesn't mean you haven't died. Many of us have been dead. We have been dead because within our minds we created such a story of suffering that we chose to just let it happen to us. Yes, our thoughts dictate our reality, and our thoughts in conjunction with our heart will never steer us wrong. Yes, whenever we feel an ounce of guilt or shame or hatred or embarrassment or anything like that, we can verify with our hearts that this is not who we are. We are not to create a story based on these churned out thoughts, which are just creating problems that weren't even there. No, we can center ourselves, we can breathe in and out. We can recognize that we do not consent to everything we think. Because we're still enveloped in the illusion of time, nothing can be done about what happened, and nothing shall be done about anything in the future. So why overthink? Why not build yourself up right now? Well, maybe you're fearful of your divine nature. Yes, a lot of us have been postponing the incorporation of our hearts and our souls into our environment because the power of creation within us is so strong that once we recognize this, we can no longer justify overthinking. We can no longer justify going about our days in a daze. We take complete control of ourselves, of our ability to manifest, of our experiences, and this can be intimidating for many people. But there is nothing to fear. Fearlessness is the name of the game. And because we're in the now, because we choose to create from the now and not overthink about the past or the future, we won, baby, because we are one. I am Hermes, messenger of the gods, at your service.